Hello, good morning, beautiful people. It is hard for me to see on the screen where I am. That's a little bit better. I get quite a reflection. That's better. Hello, hello, and good morning. It is a beautiful day. Whew. How's everyone doing? How is everyone doing? Oh my goodness gracious. Do we have a good live today? Okay, wow. You know what? Honestly, we live in the funniest, strangest timeline ever. Ever. Okay? So, if you're just clicking on this video and you're looking at this and you're like, wait, what? Yes. Trump says that he, is now open to releasing the Epstein files. Okay? He's like, but it's still a trap. It's still a trap. Oh, God, how do you even, the logic need not apply here. Let me get out my hands. First of all, let me also just say, the Epstein files spans a lot of different parts of government. It spans the judiciary, the executive, Department of Justice, FBI, and it's also important to note that within the realm of the executive branch, Trump can just release the files. You don't need Congress to actually give Trump permission to release the files. So he could just do it on his own. But he doesn't want to. But he's going to pretend like it because he knows that it's hurting him politically. So it's just all of this, watching it play out, it's just so funny. So anyway, this truth is stranger than fiction. It is the most absurd answer is always going to be the correct one when it comes to the Trump administration. That's my conclusion. You can disagree with that, but my conclusion is whatever is the most crazy answer is usually the truth when it comes to Trump. So in a late night post ramble, he went on saying the most insane, bizarre things, like normal, regarding the files, but yet he's like, it's a trap, it's a Democratic hoax, but it's a trap. How can the Epstein files not, hold on, how is it a hoax and a trap to, disclose information? It doesn't need to make sense. The cognitive dissonance of Republicans is on full blast. And we're actually going to be doing a deep dive into, cognitive dissonance as well. And cognitive dissonance is something that spans all of human existence, regardless of your political affiliation. There was cognitive dissonance amongst Democrats when Joe Biden was starting to really, really not do well mentally and physically in regards to being able to carry out the job as president. That was some cognitive dissonance right there. Though it's also very much the same, if not more amplified, with Donald Trump right now because of everything just with his presidency. It's crazy. So, I hope the background noise is not too bad. I am doing this live in my car as always. I have my engine off because I'm trying to not do it when the engine is on. So there will be some background noise here, but I appreciate every single one of you. Even if you don't like me, okay, I'm just here trying to provide you some information, give you the agency to think critically on your own. If you and I come to a different conclusion based on the same set of facts, work, okay? What's not up for debate is the objective raw information itself, the data, the science, the statistics, the timeline, the facts. What is up for interpretation is your viewpoint, your conclusion, your analysis, your approach, okay? But understand the differences between those two. And as I think young people really get it, I just hope that people can understand the difference between the two. I appreciate every single one of you. Let's break everything down here. I love all of you, even if you don't like me. So let's just get into everything. Make sure to send some likes. All right. So I saw this and I'm like, oh my God, this is just crazy. Okay. Nothing to hide. Trump urges Republicans to release the Epstein files after some Republican members fell into a Democrat trap. Now, for those people who might not know, GOP stands for Grand Old Party, which simply just means Republicans. I don't understand why news reporting agencies don't, they use political abbreviations but don't define them, which I find to be really inaccessible for people if you're trying to learn. But anyway, GOP just means Republican. So let me go ahead and just read what Trump said. And this is his statement here. I also, right before doing that, it's funny because he said, you know, oh, we have nothing to hide. We have nothing to hide. But then said that it is a trap laid by the Democrats. Okay, so if you have nothing to hide, how is it a trap? Like, logic need not apply here. You know, how is it? Oh my God. Okay, so let me just read out what Trump's statement is. He posted this on Truth Social at 9:15 last night. Okay, so this is all still very fresh and new. As I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One, which I cannot verify whether he did or did not, but I'll continue for the sake of simplicity. One to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by the radical left lunatics in order to deflect from our great success of the Republican Party. Pause. If Trump wanted to, he could disclose and release the Epstein files, which spans multiple parts of government, the judiciary and the executive branch. You don't need an act of Congress in order for the Department of Justice or the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, to release the Epstein files. He could do them on his own. He could do it like that. But he won't. But, of course, he knows it's bleeding him out politically, so he is now, I guess, advocating. He's doubling down for the sake of trying to appear like a strong man he is, while also still claiming that it's false. Anyway, it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax, yet it's also a trap, perpetrated by the radical left lunatics, deflecting from the great success of the Republican Party, including the victory of the Democrat shutdown, which to those Democrats that literally betrayed like low-income and poor people, we will remember. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein. The Department of Justice has turned over some stuff, but it wasn't anything super new. And if you are referring to the recent developments, that was all done by the House Oversight Committee. So no, I would say that's very misleading. They have turned over some of it, but they did it, that was already disclosed in those Epstein binders, and they're all like posing with them, being like, oh, look at this. Y'all, if you're enjoying the live, please make sure to send some likes. And are looking at various Democrat operatives, including Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, and the relationship to Epstein. Now, let me also just add a little bit of context here. I do think, and this is my analysis, there were people of the Democratic Party that didn't want to release the Epstein files because, yes, it also implicates some of their own. Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, Kathy Rumler. So the reason I say all of that is because, look, Democratic voters were like, we don't care. There are victims here. If you are someone that is in the sphere of being associated with Jeffrey Epstein and covering up for awful, deplorable human trafficking and sex crimes, yeah, hold them accountable. See, this is the thing. I do view, as most Republicans and Democrats want the truth to be out there, because regardless of political affiliation, I hope, and I do see that a good chunk of people want accountability, even if it's for people in their own party. So you're like, oh, well, why didn't Biden release them? That is a good question. Probably because they were trying to protect some Democrats that are a part of those Epstein files. Or some people who are associated with that. You could be protecting Bill Clinton. You could be protecting Larry Summers or Reid Hoffman. The reason I say all of that is because, look, they're saying, you know what? Mainstream Democrats are saying we don't need to be beholden to them anymore. We don't care. Okay? We actually really don't care anymore. We want to just release them because victims are victims. We need to have justice and accountability for them, which is the correct thing. So why can't Republicans also come to that conclusion as well? Well, because the ball is in their court and they don't want to release it because it implicates Trump. And you say, well, why didn't the Democrats release the Epstein files as a way to hurt Trump if they had something in them for 2024? Number one, it would not have done anything to change the results for the base or anything like that. Number two, it also would have implicated Democrats. Now, the mood has shifted and they're like, you know what? I don't care anymore. So for all these people that are like, well, why didn't Democrats do it? If you like, I just literally answered your question. So there you go. That all being said, continuing on here, he then goes on to say, let's see. And the relationship to Jeffrey Epstein and the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they're legally entitled to. I don't care. I don't care. What I do care about is the Republicans get back on point talking about the economy, affordability, in air quotes, where we are winning big. What do you mean? Like, affordability? Like, why are you putting that in air quotes? Like, he's so stupid. But let me continue on here. Our victory on reducing inflation from the highest level in history to practically nothing, bringing down prices for the American people, delivering historic tax cuts, ... for the wealthy and well-connected, the privileged only, gaining trillions of dollars into America, literally just a lie that they repeat on blast, the rebuilding of our military, securing the border, deporting criminal illegal aliens, ending men and women's sports, stopping transgender for everyone. Oh my god. I was laughing when I first saw that because I'm like, stopping transgender for everyone. What does that even mean? Stopping the transgender, stopping it for everyone. You know, I held up a sign in the middle of the road and I said, stop the transgender. Like, stopping transgender for everyone? Like, the transgender. Is there like a big industry, like, you know, big trans? Like, what are you going on about? He's such a fucking idiot. Nobody cared about that. Nobody cared about Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive, and if the Democrats had anything, they would have released it before our landslide election victory. Well, also, the Epstein files implicates some Democrats or Democratic contributors and operatives. Now the Democratic Party, their leadership has shifted, being like, you know what, we don't care. We don't care about exposing those people anymore. We don't. We want justice for victims. I hope that everyone can come to that conclusion, even if it's supposed to hurt contributors, donors, or people in your own party. Victims deserve justice, regardless of who they are, regardless of their political affiliation, regardless of, like, we deserve to see these files outright. Some members of the Republican Party are being used, and we can't let that happen. Okay, pause. How are they being used? How is it that for the few amount of Republicans that are saying, yes, we will be voting to release the Epstein files, how are they being used if it's also a hoax and a trap? How are they being used? See, the cognitive dissonance is really just at play here, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the thing is, if Trump had nothing to hide, he'd just release them. He has the authority. He can just release the files. You don't need an act of Congress. You don't. The Department of Justice and the FBI can literally just release the Epstein files that they have under the purview of the executive branch. But they don't have the political will. They don't. Why? Because Trump's implicated in them. It also implicates other Democrats. But now Democrats don't care if it implicates them because guess what? We're like, if it goes after high-profile donors like Larry Summers or Reid Hoffman or Kathy Rumler or even Bill Clinton, we don't give a damn. We don't give a damn anymore. We don't. Because it's less about the party of the people that are associated in the files, and it's more about delivering justice for the victims of those crimes. Sorry, but this isn't a political issue where you need to be wearing your jersey and cheering for your side. This is about right versus wrong. This is about justice and accountability versus covering up for people and avoiding cognitive dissonance. Like, anyway, you get my point. And then he goes on to say, let's start talking about Republican Party's record, setting achievements, and not fall into the Epstein trap, which is actually a curse on the Democrats, not us. Okay, so if it implicates the Democrats, release it. If it implicates the Democrats, release it. Like, you can't have these viewpoints all in the same time. Like, Trump's mind right now is like 11 9-year-olds just running around screaming complete contradictory things. That's what his mind is like. And he literally will just put out everything that all those contradictory things. And if you're a Trump supporter, if you're one of these MAGA people and you're seeing this, what is it like literally living your life as a contradiction where none of your views make sense and you get mad at everyone who points out the idiosyncrasies of your failed logic? Like, I would find that exhausting, having to constantly justify for that. Think critically for yourself. Have a logical conclusion. Like, you deserve that. Anyway, he goes on to continue saying, it's a Democrat hoax for the purposes of deflection, just like Russia. They had sleazy relationships with Epstein and should be prosecuted. Okay, well then release the files and show the evidence to then allow for the prosecution to go forward. Otherwise, what are you holding out on? It's so obvious how Trump is so guilty. Like, it's just so obvious. If Dems had the sleazy relationship with Epstein and your regime has the files, then why aren't you releasing them? If you're innocent, why are you fighting so hard to keep them secret? Because it implicates him too. Calling it a Democrat hoax is a lazy dodge. Epstein's circle spanned both parties and half of elite society. If you actually wanted justice, you demand every name released, not just the ones that fit your script. Screaming hoax is not a defense. It's a fear of the full truth. So eloquently said. Y'all, make sure to send some likes and like the stream. I love all of you, even if you don't like me. Like, seriously, I really do appreciate every single one of you. And there were people on Truth Social, which is Trump's far right-wing platform where he does all of his crap. And I was just, of course, the comments are, a lot of them are licking Trump's boots, but I saw some that were like Trump supporters being like, hey, dude, like, you need to stop. You said you would release it, and now it's a hoax. You're losing credibility. It's okay, bro. We know that you gave Clinton head. We'll talk about that. That was big breaking news after my live stream on Friday, so we'll be talking about that. Because, wow. If Epstein is a hoax, then why demand Department of Justice investigations? Oh, right. So next week, when the House votes to release the files, the DOJ already has an excuse. Sorry, it's part of an ongoing investigation. We can't disclose anything. That's not transparency. That's a stall tactic dressed up as a victory chant. That's pretty good analysis there. I've met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump, not one decent cell in his body, as Epstein said in one of those email correspondence. Wow, it's bad when your best friend thinks that you're a POS. You wish, liar in chief. Like, this one was good. Grandpa, this week calling it a Democrat hoax does not erase the facts. Epstein's network involved powerful people across both parties. Finance, tech, royalty, academia. Pretending only Democrats had connections is propaganda, not reality. And if you are so confident about sleazy relationships, then you should want the files fully released, not just the ones that hurt the other side. Full transparency cuts both ways. So eloquently said. If the evidence is real, it stands on its own. Screaming hoax every time something becomes politically inconvenient is not a defense. It is an admission that you are afraid of what the full record might show. Amen. Amen. It's so obvious at this point. It's so obvious. And if you're one of these like Trump humpers down here that's clapping like seals whenever Trump speaks, think for yourself. You don't have to become a Democrat. You don't have to then like agree with every one of my analysis or my takes or whatever. But think on your own. Think for yourself. Don't deprive yourself of that agency that you have, that you deserve to have as an American. Like, you don't have to like me. In fact, a lot of people are probably, I have the chat hidden away, probably calling me all these like homophobic things and trying to assert all of that. Put all that crap aside, okay? Regardless, this is about justice for victims. It's about holding powerful people accountable. Welcome to the life of people who are progressive Democrats that actually want robust change that will substantively improve the lives of millions of Americans, regardless of whether they are MAGA or progressive. We want structural change that actually does something to tackle the elite in this country. MAGA, you just say you want that, but then you continue voting to protect people like Trump who have done nefarious things. Take up your own agency and think critically for yourself. I promise it will be one of the best things that you will have done this year for yourself. Look at it. Look at the facts and then say, are you just protecting someone? This is why you have progressives are like, yeah, what Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries or these Democratic, like, this is crap. Yes, they're taking up their own agency to say, you know what, we deserve better from our party. So I hope that you can look at that and look at Trump and see how much of a fraud and a crook he really is. You know? Then release everything. What's the freaking problem? Come on, get a move on. Who is Bubba and why does Putin have pics? When you were running for office, you told people you were going to release the files, and now all of a sudden you're not? Get them released. Release the files. You said you would. Now, I also just want to point out here, the Epstein files spans multiple different parts of the government. You can see here there are grand jury files, sealed court documents. These are the parts of the Epstein files that are in the judicial branch. The parts of the Epstein files that are a part of the executive branch include the Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of Investigation records. Now, Congress can push to disclose both, though have no permanent legal mechanism to get full disclosure. So what Congress can do is force, in their best way possible, these branches of government to release their respective parts of the Epstein files. But you do realize that under the Department of Justice and the FBI, they can just release unredacted versions of their part of the Epstein files. They don't need Congress to go through and push them to do it. If Trump really wanted to do it, he could just release them under his part of the executive branch. But he doesn't have the political will. Look, you all know, have you all heard of the story of Icarus? Icarus who flew too close to the sun and he had like wax on his wings and it started melting. And so then he wasn't able to fly across the ocean. Trump is a lot like Icarus. He was trying to play, he was playing too much with his hand. He was like, I could, you know, I'm in the files, but, you know, I could say that I want to release the files, and then when I get in, I could decide not to do it, but that would fool a lot of people into voting for me, and I could come up with other excuses as why, you know, it's actually something perpetuated by the other side, and it only hurts the other side. I could do that, you know, maybe it would actually, you know, look like I'm a truth teller, but then actually still be hiding the truth. Trump is a lot like Icarus who flew too close to the sun, and now he's getting burnt. Sorry, I do not feel bad for him at all. Does that metaphor make sense? Like, he said he wanted to release them, and then when he has the agency to be able to do it, guess what he doesn't do? Because he doesn't want to do it. Because it implicates him too. And look, people like me, a progressive Democrat, we're like looking at this being like, we want justice for all people. Do you think that Democrats, here, you know, it's so funny, to these MAGA people, do you really think that Democrats actually give a flying fuck about Bill Clinton? And how it maybe implicates him? Literally, we don't care. New Yorkers had the chance to elect Andrew Cuomo or Zoran Mamdani. And guess what? We said, ew, Andrew Cuomo, the guy who has like so many different sexual assault allegations, harassment against him, as well as failed policies that are literally the reason why New York has a crisis with affordability. Or we could elect a charismatic young guy who has a record of delivering for working class people regardless of political affiliation and does not have all the problems associated with scandal where you literally had to resign from being governor of a state. Andrew Cuomo is a lot like Democrat Trump. Why would we choose that? Guess what? They said, no, we're not going to choose that. So the reason I say all that is because, like, I hope that people take up their own agency to really see and hold powerful people accountable. Anyway, let me continue on here. So, with all of this, the president can literally disclose these Epstein files without an act of Congress. Like, the Department of Justice and FBI can release their section, their version of the Epstein files, but they don't have the political will. Notably, Trump can order the Department of Justice, which is part of the executive branch that he controls, to release the files without congressional authorization. However, he has so far refused to do so. Earlier this year, Attorney General Pam Bondi reportedly informed the president that his name appears in the files. Now, I have hidden the chat away, but is it even worth looking at anything in here? Or is it just people trying to make fun of me for being gay or trying to, you know, say that I'm zesty or anything like that? Because here's the thing. Most of the time, it's like all these people that are just trying to be obnoxious. Also, gay is not an insult. So, but it's like, to them it is. To them it is. It's just silly. Like, I'm talking about substantive things regarding Trump, the Epstein sphere, and holding powerful people accountable. And all you all can think of is an insult. Like, that's just silly. You know? You're doing great work. Thank you. I appreciate that. And again, someone said Biden could have done the same. If Trump was in there, they would have used it, period. Pause. He could have. Because it looks like Trump is in the Epstein files. Correct. Though also it implicates other Democrats. So Democrats didn't want it released because it also implicates people like Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, Kathy Rumler, or Bill Clinton. But now the Democrats have shifted their position saying, you know what? We don't fucking care if it implicates people that are a part of our party, donors or politicians. Because, like the Me Too movement, victims deserve justice regardless of who they are or regardless of who perpetrated it. So at one point, Democrats were like, yeah, well, we don't want to release the Epstein files because it also implicates our own. We could use it to hurt Trump, but then also we probably don't want to do it because it also would hurt us. But now Democrats are like, you know what? Why are we trying to protect people who have done awful things? Why are we trying to protect people that might be a part of our party or politically affiliated with us if they are also complicit within these sex crimes? Do you see that evolution that happened? Also, I think Democrats were focusing so much on other issues because Jeffrey Epstein was dead, and it didn't seem like there needed to be much movement other than that. We also had still the big pandemic that we were trying to like go through and like fix and all that stuff. So there were just other things that became more, you know, high up on the totem pole. So Democrats are like, well, we could do this, but, you know, maybe we can just leave it in the past. It wasn't until Elon Musk and the Department of Justice and FBI really started to like fly too close to the sun, trying to close the investigation, close it all up, and say that the files did not exist. And like, oh, they're on my desk to review, but then claim that they don't exist. There's no client list. So it really became their own undoing of how that all worked. But Democrats initially were protecting them. But then they're like, you know, why? Why are we doing this? We're supposed to be a party that cares about victims of misconduct, of violence. So there was a shift. And now Democrats are like, we don't care if it implicates Bill Clinton. We don't care if it implicates any of these other Democrat operatives in addition to Trump or other Republican-leaning people. Do you not see that shift that happened? And that is the correct position in my view. Holding all people accountable regardless of who they are. That's what it should be about. You know? So anyway, let me move on here. I appreciate every single one of you. If you're enjoying the live, please make sure to tap the screen. It really does help the live stream. I appreciate every single one of you. Now, what's so interesting is that Trump calls it a hoax. Okay? He's calling this whole thing a hoax. He's calling it, you know, a trap laid by the Democrats, and stuff like that. Where is the thing? Yeah. So he's calling it a hoax and he's calling it a trap, okay? Even though he says, fine, go ahead and release them, whatever. But, you know, it's a Democrat hoax and it's a trap that was laid for people to fall into. It's like, okay, you're going to call it a trap and a hoax. Now, let me give you the dictionary definition of a trap and a hoax. I shouldn't have to do this because, oh my God. But a hoax is a plan to deceive. It's something that is false or fake, presented as truth or real. He's claiming that the Epstein files, that it implicating Republicans is somehow false or fake. Well, there's a lot of evidence to show that it's real. So this is, again, Trump claiming that something is fake because it's inconvenient that it exists in regards to him. So he's calling it also a hoax. Now, he's also claiming that it's somehow a trap. Well, by his own logic, if it's a hoax or it doesn't exist, then how is it also a trap? Because a trap is predicated, it's dependent. The existence of that trap is predicated on the existence of it being real. So how is it that it's a hoax and a trap at the same time? It doesn't need to make sense. Because Trump is someone that doesn't come to logical conclusions whatsoever. How can something be a hoax and a trap at the same time when it comes to the nature of like the Epstein files? You cannot say that it's fake or that you can't say that it's fake, but then also claim that it is a trap. Because, again, saying that it's a trap is predicated on the assumption that it is also real. I love how the viewer count went down from like 420 to 260. Did I make you pull a muscle in your brain by coming to a logical conclusion? Like, to all these MAGA people that are rage typing, they're like, oh my God, no, I can't hear it anymore. I'm gonna melt. Oh, bless their hearts. Bless their little hearts. And see, this is the thing. This gets into the realm of cognitive dissonance that I want to talk about. I talk about cognitive dissonance quite a lot, and I'm glad to see that there are other creators, other people within the space talking about it, because this is a perfect encapsulation of the Trump era. Cognitive dissonance happens to everyone, regardless of their political affiliation or their beliefs or their identity. Doesn't matter. Happens to everyone. Happens to me. Happens to all people. It is a natural phenomenon that happens within the realm of human psychology. Though it is so amplified when it comes to MAGA. And here's why. Cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort that people experience when holding two or more conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes at the same time, and when they often clash with your actions. For instance, there is cognitive dissonance right now amongst a lot of people that are MAGA because Trump said and promised that he would release the Epstein files, then turns around and says, nope, not going to do that anymore. And you say, well, why? You were claiming that it hurts the other side, and now you're not doing it. The cognitive dissonance that is at play there, they want to maintain a form of like mental homeostasis. Is anyone in here like in the medical field? If you're not in the medical field, you're like, well, what did he just say? Homeostasis is a term which means your body's ability to regulate its temperature. So when you go outside and it's really, really hot, you might start sweating. Or if you go outside and it's super, super cold, your body tries to regulate your temperature by staying warm. So that's like your body maintaining its temperature. We have a mental type of homeostasis where when we receive information that goes against what we want to believe, we experience this cognitive dissonance and it makes people go crazy. It's the same way that Trump claims that it is a hoax and that it does not exist, while also simultaneously claiming that it is a trap. It makes people come to the most illogical conclusions. Y'all following me? Y'all like understanding? So cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort when holding two or more conflicting beliefs. It's when people who are MAGA voted, yeah, I want to release the Epstein files, then their leader gets in there and does quite the opposite. That's the cognitive dissonance on full display. The phrase cognitive dissonance perfectly captures the mental gymnastics on display in Donald Trump's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files, a saga that's unfolded dramatically in recent weeks, pitting his campaign promises against his apparent instinct for self-protection. For context, Trump has positioned himself as an outsider, unafraid to expose elite corruption, including Epstein's network of high-profile enablers. Yet, as president, in his second term, he's veered from enthusiastic pledges to outright resistance, then forced a reversal, all while dismissing the push for transparency as a, quote, Democrat hoax. This isn't just inconsistency, it is a textbook clash between Trump's self-image as a truth teller and the reality of his own documented ties to Epstein, which risk tarnishing that image if fully aired. The reversal, pressure mounts, Trump pivots. Well, the dissonance has now peaked as of today in November of 2025 amid a bipartisan revolt in the House, a discharge petition led by Marjorie Taylor Greene, Representative Thomas Massie, and Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California, which have gathered enough signatures to bypass Speaker Mike Johnson and compel the Department of Justice to release all unredacted Epstein files. Now, facing potential defeat, dozens of Republicans signaled they'd vote to veto, despite Trump's. Oh no, sorry, I didn't read that right. Facing potential defeat, dozens of Republicans signaled they'd vote yes, despite Trump's arm twisting, including the Situation Room meetings with holdouts like Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, and such. Trump executed a stark U-turn on November 16th in a Truth Social post and statements to reporters where he urged House Republicans to vote to release the Epstein files and move on, insisting his administration had nothing to hide. Johnson echoed this, calling it a way to, quote, put to rest allegations tying Trump to Epstein. Well, this wasn't altruism. This was damage control. Recent documented dumps, geez, that's awful, included Epstein emails to Ghislaine Maxwell and author Michael Wolff, where Epstein claimed Trump, quote, knew about the girls, end quote, trafficked by the operation, though no direct evidence of Trump's involvement has surfaced, to be clear. Trump's denied wrongdoing, and victims like Virginia Giuffre, who died by suicide in April of 2025, never accused him. Still, the optics are damning. Trump flew on Epstein's plane multiple times, hosted him at Mar-a-Lago, and once quipped that in 2002, Epstein was, quote, a terrific guy who liked beautiful women more on the younger side. Also, this is a guy, Trump said, I never had the privilege of going to Epstein's Island. I never had the privilege of going there. Privilege. That's how he described it. That's quite a damning word. In addition to all of that, a 2003 birthday letter from Trump to Epstein revealed, including risque drawings, fueling further speculation. And even more, you had Trump claiming that, oh geez, what was it? That, he basically said when he was like, oh, will you vote to release the Epstein files? He goes, yeah, but there's also a lot of phony stuff in there. There's a lot of phony stuff in there. Geez, I wonder what phony stuff he's referring to. His stuff. Because he doesn't want it to get out there. Now, Trump's initial resistance, labeling the files as a hoax, or even claiming it's phony to deflect from the bad policies, only amplified suspicions. Well, why block a vote if it's all phony? Like, why? Why summon lawmakers for a closed-door browbeating? Right-wing media spun it as Trump was informing on Epstein, citing unverified claims he was an FBI asset, but even influencers like John Harold called the latest emails, quote, nothing burgers. Yeah, it's really convenient for you to be like, here, let me just tell my viewers what to think of it. Meanwhile, his base has splintered. QAnon-adjacent voices who view Epstein as a proof of satanic elite feel betrayed by the foot-dragging. Now, cognitive dissonance here isn't just Trump's. It's also the strain on his supporters reconciling a man who rails against pedophilia, while attacking figures like Catholic bishops, with one whose administration seems to shield Epstein's full web. Let me say that again. To everyone who is still on this Trump train, you are experiencing cognitive dissonance. It is hella uncomfortable. It is something that, one of the most hard things as a human to face, when you receive information that goes against what you want to be true. Going back to the 2024 election, before Joe Biden was replaced by Kamala Harris, as the nominee. So you had a lot of cognitive dissonance amongst Democratic voters because they saw Joe Biden not really even able to debate or have like a robust back and forth with Trump because he was just so old. He just wasn't as eloquent and sharp as he used to be. And Democrats, a lot of voters were like, ugh. They faced a lot of cognitive dissonance. Do we go with someone else or do we continue with Joe Biden? That cognitive dissonance was very, very prevalent, if you all remember, in 2024. And initially they came to the conclusion, well, I think it's time for us to move on. It's time for us to have a different nominee. So that's what ended up happening. That cognitive dissonance was very real. And a lot of people were really struggling, thinking, well, do we just double down and go with Joe? Or is us even talking about this like helpful? That cognitive dissonance was there. Likewise here, you see the cognitive dissonance amongst Trump supporters where Trump said, I wanted to disclose them, and now has turned around and completely reversed his position because it's inconvenient, because it implicates his past actions. Let me turn on my car because my what is it? My phone is getting on low battery. Where are my keys? Where are my keys at? Can I put them in my pocket? Hold on a second. Where'd my keys go? Hold on, y'all. Stand by for a commercial break brought to you by our sponsors. Where in the world did I put my keys? This is strange. Where did they go? Watch them be in like a very, very simple place. Meep, meep. There they are. Hiding. Yes, this is what my life is like. Okay. I also had to make sure to turn off the Bluetooth so that it shouldn't try to connect to my car. Calm down, buddy. What do you mean, calm down, buddy? I was just feeling a little panicked about, making sure I found my keys. Anyway, but you see this cognitive dissonance really on blast when it comes to these Trump people. Again, cognitive dissonance here isn't just Trump's, it's a strain on his supporters, reconciling a man who rails against pedophilia and also somehow conflates that with people who are LGBTQ, which is the biggest homophobic trope in the world, with an administration who seems to be shielding Epstein's full web. Trump thrives on deflection, blaming Democrats, suing outlets like the Wall Street Journal over Epstein stories, or ordering the Department of Justice probes into Bill Clinton's ties. But this issue resists easy spin. His base demanded transparency, and now they're gaslit into accepting redactions and protecting the innocent. As one user put it, it's a peak mindfuck, flipping logic on its head. I mean, so eloquently said there. Politically, it's also toxic. Polls show 70+% of Americans, including majority of Republicans, want the full released, per NPR Siena survey. So Trump's reversal, might pass the House, expected this week, but it reeks of cornered improvisation. If the files drop unredacted, they could implicate allies like Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, alongside foes, but also risk more Epstein-Trump overlap, like recruitment from Mar-a-Lago, which there's a lot of speculation and some evidence to show that Trump knew about it and that Mar-a-Lago was kind of a hub for recruitment for this way. That would be a huge story if Mar-a-Lago, Trump's estate, was a hub of sex trafficking activity. So, wow. No charges against Trump have ever stuck from this, but the drip feed erodes his drain the swamp credibility. In short, Trump's Epstein arc is less conspiracy thriller than cautionary tale. When personal stakes collide with populist rhetoric, the rhetoric just bends. Now, of course, this is very, very opinionated. Now, also, I do want to point out that Trump and Elon Musk have had a feud. So whenever I'm looking at stuff, this is from Grok, I'm always like, is there going to be a small element of Musk trying to bend reality based for him? So secondary to the narrative control, if you're in his corner, ask, would the real America First leader bury files or burn the house down? The dissonance answers itself. So I'm asking if there might be a motive behind that. That all being said, I also don't disagree. Like, if you're in his corner, ask, would the real America First leader bury the files or burn the house down? Like, Trump is not America First at all. He is Trump first. That's how he always is. That's how con men always are. Now, I am going to pivot here and briefly talk about this. Who mama? So this all happened shortly after my live stream on Friday. The internet basically erupted over the story between Trump, Putin, and Bubba. Did you all hear about this? Because just wow. Let me take a sip of my water here real quick because my throat is getting a little bit strained. I have lemons in my water and I just got a seed in my mouth. Boo. Okay. Ooh, mama. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Are y'all still with me in the chat? Are y'all still with me? I appreciate every single one of you. Make sure to send some likes. Are there any mods in here too? Are there any moderators? Maybe my mods have gone to work. So, anyway, I love all of you, even if you don't like me. Oh, Akicha! Okay. Akicha, you're amazing. You really, really are. Y'all make sure to send some likes. So this next part is, wow. This next part is, you probably have heard about this. If you're someone who watches my live streams, have you all heard about this? Say yes or no in the chat. Have you heard about Trump and Bubba yet? Yes or no? Have you heard about it? Whew. Because this dropped shortly after I finished my live stream on Friday. Have you heard about Trump and Bubba yet with the Mark Epstein email? Yes or no? There's a lot of unanswered questions in regard to this, so I'm going to be outlining everything. Yes, some. Okay. So this is also really, really interesting here. I'm going to hide away the chat here. So the internet basically erupted on Friday over Mark Epstein, this Mark Epstein and Jeffrey Epstein email regarding Trump and Bubba. So Jeffrey Epstein's email correspondence, which was released by the House Oversight Committee this week, implicates many powerful people, including President Trump. One email chain in particular seems to allude Trump performing a lewd act. Now, I'm actually just going to read the exchange. You can see here, this exchange is between Jeffrey Epstein and his brother Mark Epstein. This is in 2018, in March. So Mark Epstein asked Jeffrey, ask him if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. Well, we do not know who Bubba is. We don't know. It could be someone's actual name. It could be a code name. It could be an alias or something like that. So ask if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. Ask him if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. And then Jeffrey Epstein responds, and I thought I had thesaurus, which I believe is a Yiddish word for problems. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Mark Epstein then says, you and your boy Donnie can remake the movie Get Hard. And then Jeffrey Epstein responds, you mean Donnie T? And Mark says, I'd rather be in Donnie D's shoes. I have a lot of questions regarding this. So, immediate speculation happened. People were saying, well, who is Bubba? Who is Bubba? Mark's comment could have either been a joke or a reference to an actual event. It's not clear who Bubba is, but commentators on social media have had a field day. Many noted that it's one of President Clinton's nicknames, and Clinton also had a relationship with Epstein as well as Trump. And so the internet just went wild with this. Trump's one big beautiful bill, Clinton. Like, that got me. I was like, one big beautiful bill, Clinton. And I'm not gonna lie, the next thing that gets that, hold on, where's the one that really got me cackling so bad? Okay. It's not this one, but it'll be the next one. Meet Bubba Salisbury, the son of Odessa oil industry magnate Dick Salisbury, also a friend of Kash Patel and J.D. Vance. This is who the Epstein affair email is rumored to be referring to, not Bill Clinton. So now it's like, okay, so there are people saying that it's not Bill Clinton. Then, adding for context, Ghislaine Maxwell had a horse named Bubba, and she owned many others whose names are not widely as known in public discussions. So was it a horse? Also, I will say that it's bad for national security. If this kind of thing exists and Putin has photos that is incriminating evidence of Trump, that would be a huge issue to national security. If this was Biden, if this was Kamala Harris, if this was Bill Clinton, and they had the same kinds of possible blackmail on that, that would be a huge issue for national security. It doesn't matter who it is or their political affiliation. If there is stuff that implicates our leader and that they are using to then blackmail the United States to do certain policies to favor other countries, that is a threat to Americans' security and national identity. That's bad. Now, this one, this makes me laugh so hard, okay? Which Bubba will it be when you realize the name of Ghislaine Maxwell's horse is also named Bubba? And I read this and I paused for a couple seconds and then I just burst out laughing because it took a second for me. And to think the real ballroom was his mouth all along. Like, oh my God. The real ballroom all along. Like, oh my God. I was laughing my ass off when I screenshotted this. What's also interesting, I just want to note here, Jeffrey Epstein's brother actually came out with a clarification saying that Bubba was not a reference to Bill Clinton. So there was this idea that, oh, it's supposed to be Bill Clinton. That's the speculation, right? But who is a part of that email is saying, no, it wasn't Bill Clinton. But notably, this is part of the here. This is the actual statement. This is a section. For the avoidance of doubt, the reference to Bubba in this correspondence is not in any way reference to former President Bill Clinton. The statement continues. Any attempt to conflate that reference with President Bill Clinton or read sweeping implications into them misrepresents both the purpose and the tone of the original correspondence. And so that's here you go. I want to absolutely clear on this point, so this is public record and not distorted, so that speculation does not unfairly implicate people who are not actually being referenced in these communications. Well, I'm not here to tell you whether to believe or not to believe Mark Epstein. That is just what he says. But what's also important to point out is this is not a denial either. When you're looking at this, it's not saying that this was made up or that this is a hoax or that it is somehow like just oh geez, what's the word that I'm trying to think of? That this is defamatory. There we go, defamatory. Mark Epstein is admitting that yes, this correspondence exists and that it is real. Doesn't say anything about it, oh, well, it's not real, or this is made up, or this is just supposed to be, just supposed to be funny, not actually a real thing. No, he's saying that, oh, it's just not Bill Clinton. So what you're also saying is that it's also very, very real. Just, it's not Bill Clinton. Which, here's Mark Epstein not saying Trump didn't give a guy named Bubba a blowjob, just that the Bubba that he was referring to wasn't Bill Clinton. And so could have said that there was no Bubba, but instead gives the impression that there was, just not that it's Clinton. Interesting. So, there was one person that put this out there, and I was like, well, I mean, it's possible that someone was making him say that, although you'd have to have evidence for that. People put the wrong emphasis on Mark's comments. It's not about a Bubba. It's Mark confirming that Putin has Trump photos and other compromising evidence. That's the point of the statement. And what's interesting is, could have said there was no Bubba, but instead gives an impression that there was. Just not that it's a Clinton. And funny, what if Bubba had looked like that and it was a woman? Or what if Bubba was trans? That'd be really interesting. And then maybe Mark can tell us then who Trump gave a blowjob to. Yeah, it's like, okay, Mark, if you're going to come out and make a statement about it, then tell us, who is it? Who is it? Name names. Name names. We're listening. I love that we had to have a clarification on who he was or was not referring to our current president blowing, whether or not it's a former president or whether or not whether or not current president, brutal dictator, has pornographic evidence of said blowing. It's not even Christmas. I also want to point out here, you all remember Bill Clinton's whole scandal with Monica Lewinsky, where Monica Lewinsky, who I believe was an employee at the Clinton White House, was with Bill Clinton and had relations in the Oval Office. Now, the reason I say all of that is because what if, and this is not meant to be serious, this is just meant to be a joke, what if Monica Lewinsky was Trump's alter ego name or drag name or alias? And in fact, they just decided to take another woman and just throw her under the bus, but it was Trump that was Monica Lewinsky. Because then that would make sense with some of the timeline in regards to Bill Clinton. But no, it's not. That's just meant to be a joke. It's not serious. I only say that just to be funny because, you know, we know that Bill Clinton got some in the Oval Office by Monica Lewinsky. Anyway, so all of that being said, again, Trump is now saying that he wants to release the Epstein files. Well, he could do that. You don't need an act of Congress to do that. You don't need Congress to then say, oh, we need you to release the Epstein files, the executive branch. The executive branch can go ahead and release them. Without a law, the executive branch isn't obligated to release them, true, but they have the ability to do so, whether or not a law is passed through Congress. Now, there are some elements to the Epstein files that are a part of another branch of government. That includes the judicial branch that would need to disclose things like federal grand jury testimony, or like judicial documents. So there is that, because the Epstein files spans multiple branches of government, as I show people here. If sealed court documents and grand jury files, that's a part of the judicial branch in red, and then the orange is the Department of Justice and FBI records. So Congress can push to disclose both, but also they can release theirs, but neither want to. So Congress is pushing to do it and can do their best to require, but they can also just release it themselves. So when Trump is saying, fine, it's okay, just go ahead and release them. Okay, bet. Do it, Donnie. Release the files. Fulfill your campaign promise. We as Democrats, if it implicates Democrats, great, hold them accountable. We don't care. Because it's not about trying to protect, it's not, here's the thing. If Democrat people are implicated in it, great, I'm not going to shed a tear about it. Democratic voters are not going to shed a tear if there are people who are implicated in these files, because we don't want those kinds of people out there, regardless of whether or not they were historically a part of our tent. So, there you go. Problem solved. Prosecute people who have done sex crimes, who have done this kind of stuff. And that does include our current president, who looks like there is ample evidence to fuel that speculation, which leads him to being more skittish about releasing the files, which already shows quite evidence itself. Anyway, my phone is so hot. I wish it wasn't so hot, because my screen is like really, really dark. Anyway, I appreciate every single one of you. You said he never ran on this? What's it like living in a fantasy world, sweetheart? Oh my goodness. That's crazy. That's crazy. Someone's like, he didn't run on it. Oh, honey. It reminds me of this one, of like this. He didn't say that. And if he did, he didn't mean that. And if he did, you just didn't understand it. And if you did, it's not a big deal. And if it is, then others have said worse. Like, there's always going to be another thing that comes with these MAGA people. It's always going to be another thing. Like, oh, he didn't say that. And if he did, he didn't mean it. And if he did, you didn't understand it. And if you did, then, you know, it's not a big deal. And if it is, then others have said worse. Bless your little heart. You could just think critically for yourself. Hold powerful people accountable, regardless of their political affiliation. You could do that. Just saying. You could. Look, you don't have to come to the same conclusions or analysis or opinions that I have. But facts are facts. I hope that you can think critically on your own based on those facts. You're like, Trump didn't run on it. Oh, honey. This is when I, as a southern little gay guy, go, bless your little heart. Bless your little heart. Donnie T and Bubba, my new favorite ship. Yeah, why else do you think Trump hated Hillary Clinton so much? He's like, I want my bill. My big, beautiful bill. It's a joke. Calm down. Calm down. It's a joke. Do y'all believe, Mark Epstein, that the Bubba that they're referring to is not Bill Clinton? I mean, because we would need to have some evidence. There is evidence out there that Bubba was a nickname for Bill Clinton. And Mark Epstein associated with Jeffrey Epstein in that whole sphere. So do you believe him or no? DJ giving BJs. Like, do you... And I'm not here to tell you whether or not to believe him, because I'm not here to, like, you know, say otherwise. Because I obviously kind of have my opinion. But in regard to Mark Epstein saying that, oh, Bubba is not Bill Clinton, do you believe him? Do you believe him? Trump relation. Why do you think Elon is so salty? He's like, you know, every single time he was with Trump, it's like, oh, I wish I had my bill, my big, beautiful bill. Bill. Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's plane 27 times, and y'all still worried about Trump. Guess what? Yes, Bill Clinton was on that plane. Democrats don't give a flying fuck about Bill Clinton and covering up for him. Newsflash, we don't care. Bill Clinton was weird and a creep. There's evidence to show that. You're not going to see me shed a tear for that. If you go ask any Democrat whether they care or not about prosecuting Bill Clinton, you know what they will say? You know what they'll say? They'll be like, was there evidence that he did it? And they will be like, well, some of it's in the Epstein files. Okay, hold him accountable. You're not going to see Democrats start whining and crying and facing cognitive dissonance over Bill fucking Clinton. We don't care. The idea behind it is that you hold powerful people accountable. You know, like, it's, oh God, it's just, oh, bless your heart. Bless your heart. See, you want us to be upset that it might implicate Bill Clinton because you secretly, or not so secretly, are very upset that it implicates your guy. We all could be on the same page here. We could all be on the same page as Americans and say, you know what, just release them. Let it implicate who it's going to implicate, hold them accountable, lock them up, prosecute them, great. And we'll move on. Just saying. Anyway. But I need to go. My phone is on very low battery, and my phone is really, really hot right now. The screen is super, super dark. So anyway, I appreciate every single one of you, even if you don't like me, okay? If you really liked the stream, then please make sure to smash that subscribe button. Go check out my other content. Y'all are incredible. So it means a lot that you all are here. And shout out to my amazing moderators in here. Cherie, Akicha, Kate, Elisa. I love all of you. Ellie, Cantisa, Joanna Tech. Y'all are incredible and amazing. Seriously, I love all of you so, so much. So anyway, just remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything ever, 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 ever dim your shine. I love all of you so, so much. Bye!